Hello my friends, it's Truex31 here again today. April 17th today. Not a bad day outside. Almost hit zero today. Might have hit zero, I don't know. Anyway, as I promised today, I want to talk about balancing. We had identified various flows in those rooms, and I was going to show you how you get that various flow, and you do that by balancing. So let's take a look at the numbers I have on the board. I have some theoretical numbers again. I have a house here. It has 9 loops. I had figured out the flow rates for each one of those loops based on all the math I've given you. And I have a loop length. I laid it out in this manner, so to speak. So how would you balance that system? And because you've done this math here, if you had bought a manifold of this nature, it becomes very easy. You can see here these are visual flow indicators, and you can see as you turn them there's a little yellow marker inside that moves up and down, and you simply would turn this with the system running wide open now. You have to have it on, all loops open. As the water is flowing, you turn it, the yellow moves up and down. You simply match along here the number that you have set up here, in this case 1 gallon a minute. You go on to the next one. Again, dial it in until you see the yellow indicator moves up and down, and you would want to, in this case, dial in this number here, right? And you continue on with each loop in the system. And balancing with a manifold of this nature is very easy, but we don't always have this manifold, and there are other options. So let's have a look at this. This would be our brass manifold offering, something we'd use in residential, light commercial, that sort of thing, called the True Flow manifold. In this case, there is no balancing indication, and the balancing valve is actually located within this body right here. So, when balancing of this nature, you want to disregard the flow rate for a minute. Let's just ignore this column and let's focus in on the lengths of the loops themselves. Okay? Now I know from trial and error that if I put my Allen key in and I close this valve off, if I open it all the way, I know that it's going to take 4 1/4 turns to get from fully closed to fully open. Okay? And this is the same for each one of the loops on this manifold. So let's look at the math. Knowing that, it's very simple. Again, disregard the gallons. We're not worried about that now. We're only focusing on the length. So we're going to balance loop number 1. So loop number 1 is 250 feet long. We want to multiply that by those turns that I just told you about, 4 1/4. Okay? We then divide it by the longest loop on the manifold. In this case, 270 feet. Okay? We come up with a number of 3.9. So that number is turns or revolutions from the closed position. Okay? So go on, and we'll do that for the next loop. Same thing. In this case, it's always 4 1/4 turns for that valve. It's always divided by the longest loop, which again doesn't change. We come up with a number of 2.4. Okay, so again, I'm not going to do this for everyone, but I'll write the results down. We have 3.1 for this one, 2.8 for the next one, 3.8. 4.3, 4.1, the last two, 3.5, 3.1. Now, this is a very rudimentary form of balancing. It's designed to get you from nowhere to somewhere. Just designed to get you a starting point. You can argue that, for example, this smaller loop, it might be in a room with a really high heat load, actually requiring much greater flow than that. It could potentially be the highest flowing loop on the manifold. But you know, for now, we're going to just, I said, ignore that, but that will identify a need to balance further later. I mean, what you want to do is set this up initially in this manner. Then you want to go back, you know, on or near design day and take a closer look. You want to have the system running wide open. You want to put thermostat or infrared on the supply and return, and you want to look for that delta T we talked about earlier. You're looking for a delta T at 10, right? In that case, you would adjust, open to close the valve as required to try to reach that delta T. And once you've hit it, you know, you'll be fairly accurate. So you may have to go back once or twice over a period of time, again on the coldest day of the year, and tweak the numbers here and there, but eventually you'll get them close to where they need to be. And when you do get them close, theoretically you can operate this system on one thermostat. It is potentially possible, but obviously not recommended. We still would like you to individualize each room with an actuator and its own thermostat, you know. When you do that, each loop again can operate independently of the others, and balancing becomes far less important than as I first indicated. So anyway, that in a nutshell is how to balance a system. It is important to balance the system, so you know, I hope that helps. I think we probably should have maybe looked at loop lengths first and how we got the loop lengths we see up here, but nevertheless we're doing this stuff in no particular order, but we are doing it. So tomorrow I think we'll look at those loop lengths, loop layouts, and we'll go from there. So thanks for watching. See you soon.